consent, I call this meeting to order. And now I welcome you all to our fourth general meeting and also a learned lecture. And that is a monthly lecture that will be delivered by Dr. Antora Borah, Assistant Professor, Miya Nagaland Institute of Social Change and Development, Guwahati, Assam, India. Now I request our General Secretary to read out the proceedings of the previous meeting.
Respected Chairperson of the fourth monthly general meeting of the ASB Council for the years 2022 and 23, Professor Khondokar Buzdul Haq, Honorable President of the Asiatic Society of Bangladesh, our learned speaker, Dr. Antora Borah, esteemed council members and members of the Asiatic Society of Bangladesh, distinguished guests, and those who are connected with us through online Zoom platform. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the fourth monthly general meeting of the ASB Council. Before starting today's session, I am going to present the proceedings of our third monthly general meeting for your kind approval. Dear audience, the third monthly general meeting for the Council 2022 and 2023 of the Asiatic Society of Bangladesh was held on Wednesday, September 28, 2022 at the Society's auditorium with Khondokar Buzdul Haq, President of the Society, in the chair. Calling the meeting to order, the Chairperson welcomed the members of the Asiatic to the third monthly general meeting and then moved on a condolence proposal. He informed to the audience that Dr. Akbar Ali Khan, a freedom fighter, an eminent writer and educationist, a former secretary to the government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh and advisor to the caretaker government, who was also a life member of the Asiatic Society of Bangladesh, passed away on September 7, 2022 after suffering from cardiac complications. The meeting expressed that his death is great loss for the society as well as for the nation. The meeting observed 1 minute silence to pay tribute to his departed soul. After that, the Chairperson requested General Secretary to present the proceedings of the previous monthly general meeting held on September 28, 2022. The General Secretary of the Asiatic Society of Bangladesh presented the proceedings for the previous meeting before the members of the Society. The meeting viewed that the proceedings of the last meeting were correctly recorded and thus duly confirmed. The Chairperson of the meeting again requested the General Secretary to introduce the guest speaker. The General Secretary introduced the speaker, Dr. A.B.M. Razaul Karim Fakir, Professor and Director, Institute of Modern Languages, University of Dhaka. After that, as per the schedule of the meeting, the General Secretary requested the speaker to deliver his lecture on বিশ্বায়নের পরিপ্রেক্ষিতে বাংলাদেশের ঐচ্ছিক দ্বিভাষিক বিদেশি ভাষা শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থা কায়েমের প্রয়োজনীয়তা। Speaker Professor Dr. A.B.M. Razaul Karim Fakir, in his speech, presented the need and importance of formulating and implementing an optional bilingual foreign language in Bangladesh education system in the context of ongoing globalization. He noted that almost every country in the modern world has a language policy which provides guidelines for the structure, status, and practice of national, classical, ethnic, and foreign languages. But Bangladesh has no specific language policy. That's why, despite its global importance, foreign language education has not started to our country's institutional level. The speaker mentioned that when Bangladesh was established in 1971, the Bengali national government was in power. This nationalist government realized the importance of foreign language education, which was later reflected in the first report of the Education Commission adopted by the government of Bangladesh in 1974. However, later, due to the change in the political regime, the report of the Education Commission was no longer implemented. Professor Fakir proposed to introduce an optional bilingual foreign language education system in the country's educational framework, considering the labor market, higher education, business, and diplomatic needs in this era of globalization. Further, he outlined his proposal on what would be the guidelines of optional bilingual foreign language education at the various levels of the existing education system in Bangladesh. He finally mentioned that introducing the proposed foreign language education system would increase Bangladesh's participation in the ongoing globalization process, and Bangladesh would benefit more diplomatically, commercially, economically, and culturally from the globalization. At the end of the presentation, some of the audience participated in an open discussion and on the content of the speech and put their brief comments and raised some questions. The speaker answered these questions of the audience. At the end of this discussion, the chairperson, Professor Khondokar Buzdul Haq, presented his closing speech. He thanked the speaker for his thought-provoking presentation. He also appreciated the audience for their presence. Thank you very much.
May I now request our General Secretary, unless you have any observation, any comment, may I take it as that you have accepted it? Yes. Now I request our General Secretary, Dr. Siddiqur Rahman Khan, to introduce the guest speaker.
Thank you again, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you have already known that our today's esteemed speaker is Dr. Antora Borah. A short while later, she will speak on hostility to coexistence, cross-cutting ties, and hybrid identity among the immigrant Bangladeshi and indigenous groups in the foothill border of Assam, Nagaland. Dear audience, Dr. Antora Borah is an assistant professor at the Omiyo Kumar Das Institute of Social Change and Development, Guwahati, Assam. She completed her postgraduate degree in sociology with gold medal from Tajpur Central University. She obtained her PhD degree from the Department of Sociology, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. The title of her PhD thesis is The Assam-Nagaland Foothill Border, a study of migration, identity and development among the Sima Nagas and immigrant Bangladesh. During her PhD project, Dr. Borah was to deal with people with diverse background from the remotest part of the country, as she had carried out ethnography in her field sites. She used narrative analysis to capture the voice of unheard and exploited people in the foothill border of Assam, Nagaland. Dr. Antora's Specialization includes political economy and social development issues, especially in Northeast India, sustainable development goals, conflict management, border studies, multiculturalism, and hybrid identities. Dr. Antora Borah has more than 7 years of experience in policy research, field research, and teaching in various institutes of repute like India Policy Foundation, New Delhi, Tajpur Central University, Assam, and Central University of Jharkhand, Ranchi. She has worked on a dozen research and evaluation study projects on socio-economic development and other thrust areas. Apart from these, she is also actively participating in various national and international seminars and events of repute organized by multiple global agencies like UNDP, ADP, etc. She was a delegate at the Asia Pacific Youth Exchange 2017 in Bangkok and International Summer School on Environment Education 2018 in Iran. Dr. Borah also presented her research work in international seminars and conferences. Her research works have been published in various international and national journals as policy documents. She has recently edited a book, Social Sector Development in Northeast India, published by Sage India. She had already published a book titled Assam Nagaland Border Conflict in the Foothills of Golaghat District, a case study published by Lambert Publication, Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to request our today's honorable speaker, Dr. Antora Borah, to deliver her lecture on hostility to coexistence, cross-cutting ties and hybrid identity among the immigrant Bangladeshi and the indigenous group in the foothill border of Assam, Nagaland. Thank you all. Let us enjoy her speech. Thank you.
Namaste. Respected President of Aesthetic Society of Bangladesh, Professor Mazrul Haq, Secretary ASB Professor Mohammad Siddiqui Rahman, dignitaries and scholars present here, and of course in the online mode also. So it is really a privileged moment for me to address such an august gathering. Here I also take the opportunity to thank Aesthetic Society of Bangladesh to invite me to deliver a lecture in their 4th monthly general meeting of the ASB for the year 2022-23. So in spite of being one of my nearest international neighbor, this is my maiden visit to Bangladesh. I'm overwhelmed with your hospitality and love. So thank you for such an honor and generosity. So thank you very much. So almost for a decade, I'm academically engaged with the issue of Bangladeshi immigrants in Assam. The issue has been one of the most complex and hotly debated issues between the two neighbors and also within India. However, we have witnessed that media and other public domain mostly highlighted the conflict between the Bangladesh immigrants and indigenous people in Assam and various other parts in Northeast India. So these immigrant Bangladeshis are locally known as Miya in Assam, and it is always noticeable that there is a fierce resistance against the Miyas, both politically and culturally, not only in Assam, in the entire Northeast. So, however, in the present paper, I'll try to highlight the coexistence of the immigrant Bangladeshi and indigenous people in the foothill border of Assam, Nagaland. So, I'll be talking mostly about the cross-cutting ties between immigrants and indigenous people, specifically focusing on a hybrid identity that is Semia, which is an outcome of the wedlock between the Sema Nagas and immigrant Bangladeshi. Actually, this paper is part of my recently completed PhD program from Department of Sociology, Delhi School of Economics. So it was an ethnographic work in a fertile border between two states of Indian Union, that is Assam and Nagaland. So the fieldwork was conducted between the spring of 2017 to the winter of 2018 in the villages and towns of the fertile border of Assam, Nagaland, by focusing on daily interaction and tensions. So mainly I have chosen one fertile village, that is Merapani. So mostly I will be talking about the Merapani village here. So I have mostly used a narrative analysis in the present paper. I mostly derive my narratives from various sources like daily conversation, local magazines and souvenirs, transcripts of in-depth interviews, and of course the focus group discussions also. So I have used the mostly original name of the places in the paper. Wherever the cases are sensitive, I use anonymous names. Given the volatile nature of the fertile border, I regret that I cannot use the real names of many of my respondents and families to protect their identity. So I have used pseudonyms in this regard. So most of my respondents' confidentiality has been protected in this paper, and if the real names of the respondents are used with their consent only. So before going to the main focus of my paper, that is the hybrid identity and the cross-cutting ties, I'll throw some light on the migration history of the Bangladeshi in Assam in general and in the fertile border of Assam, Nagaland in particular. So the inflow of the people from the erstwhile East Bengal or East Pakistan and the present-day Bangladesh to eastern and northeastern state is happening since time immemorial, and it is still happening, of course. So invariably, I have divided the migration trends into two phases. That is, one happening in the pre-partition period and other happening in the post-partition period. So before the partition of the country, the Bengali peasants were brought to the Brahmaputra Valley by the zamindars and the colonial rulers as cultivators. These Bengali peasants were quite adept in wetland cultivation practices and cash crop cultivation like tea and jute, for which they were settled in the wasteland and the riverine areas of the Brahmaputra Valley. So in the colonial period, the migration also took place from the western Assam to the East Bengal villages in some search of some work. So for instance, the Brahmins of the western Assam served the jamindars of the ryots of East Bengal as priests under the umbrella of Jajbani system. Though these numbers were very few, this migration was never highlighted in the social history of the region. So after the partition of the Indian subcontinent in 1947, in which new states were formed with new boundaries, this age-old practice of movement of people in the region had become, to quote-unquote, illegal. So aftermath of this partition, communal violence which erupted in the either side of the border led to the inflow of the Hindu refugees to India from East Pakistan and vice versa. This also happened in the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971. The post-partition migration does not end with the inflow of the Hindu refugees to India. Beside the Hindus, thousands of Chakmas and Hajongs fled to India following the construction of the Kaptai hydroelectric dam and the ethnic conflict in the Chittagong Hill tracts during the 1970s and 1980s also. So these were the three streams of the forced migration that occurred in response to the specific incidents and have not continued after the incidents subsidized. However, there are various official and non-official reports and statements which emphasize on the migration of the Bangladeshi to Assam and other northeastern states is still taking place. The size of this immigrant population from Bangladesh in Assam is much contested issue, with different organizations, newspaper reports, and studies fixing their numbers anywhere between 10 to 15 million or even more sometimes. So in a report prepared by the ex-governor of Assam, Sri S.K. Sinha in 1988, studied the impact of the illegal immigration in Assam, and the report was sent to the President of India too. So his report mentioned that, to quote him, "It is unfortunate that to this day, after a half a century of independence, we have chosen to remain virtually oblivious to the grave danger to our national security arising from this unabated influx of illegal immigrants, quote close. So this is the kind of a migration we have seen. So this was mainly there was a forced migration after the post-partition, and even before the partition there was the so British colonial rulers and the zamindars of Assam has collected these invited these migrant laborers from Bangladesh, means erstwhile Bangladesh, East Pakistan, to Assam. So now let me throw some light about how this drastic change in the demographic pattern led to the eruption of the anti-foreigner agitation in Assam in 1978, and which culminated in the year 1985. The anti-foreigner movement seeks for the detention of the illegal immigrants, their deletion from the voter list, and their deportation. Aftermath of the anti-foreigner movement, Assam Accord was signed between the government of India and the leader of the agitation, and the two parties agreed upon 1971 as cut-off year instead of 1951 for the identification and deportation of the illegal immigrants. Eventually, the decadal growth rate of the population in Assam come down to 18.85% during 1991 to 2001 as against 21.3% for the country as a whole. So in the year 1960-61-71 census, the decadal growth rate of the Assam was 34.94%, whereas in 1971 to 1991 there was no census was held in Assam because of the disturbance for this Assam agitation. So this slowdown may happen due to escalation of the insurgency in Assam, impact of the Assam movement and the visitalism, and intensified patrolling along the border, and Bangladesh's preference for other destination may be the causes for this decline of the population growth in Assam. So how few All India Hindu nationalist organization demanded to accept Hindu immigrants only as refugees as they entered India to seek only shelter after partition on religious lines. But this demand of Hindu organization was vehemently opposed by all Assam Students Union, and they stand for deportation of illegal immigrants irrespective of their religion. With the passage of time, the issue of Hindu immigrants got subsidized due to the decline of Hindu Bengali immigrants and rise of the pan-Indian Hindu nationalist politics in under Assam, identifying the Muslim immigrant as the main threat to the Assamese and other indigenous people. But with the rise of the Hindutva government in India, Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 was enacted to give eligibility for Indian citizenship to illegal migrants who are Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, and Christians from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and who entered India or before 31st December 2014. So the Act does not mention about the Muslims particularly. So the enactment of the Citizenship Amendment Act led to widespread protests across the state of Assam. The anti-car protest was spearheaded by various regional student organizations in the state. The anti-car protester alleged that the contentious car violates the Assam Accord, under which the cut-off date for the detecting foreigner in Assam is March 24, 1971. On the other hand, few political parties, pressure groups, and section of intelligentsia claim that the Muslim immigrant influx is still there, which is evident from their demographic strength and political mobilization. The political and social mobility of the Muslim immigrants seems to be the root cause of the xenophobic tendencies among the indigenous communities of Assam. Sometimes it becomes so intense that it leads to ethnic cleansing and riots in different parts of the state. It also instigates periodic public drives or street drives to control it, to quote-unquote illegal immigration by various methods like eviction, sealing of border, local vigilance, etc. These drives have been undertaken more on the perception about the identity of certain people of a certain look and language as Bangladeshi nationals than on the actual documented proof. So it is also true that obtaining various citizenship documents like ration card, Aadhaar card, etc. is not a very difficult task in Assam for the, to quote unquote again, Bangladeshis. So various scholars also claim that the inflow of Bangladeshi immigrants not only changed the demography of the state, but it also led to the displacement of the tribal and the indigenous people in various pockets of Assam and other northeastern states. The settlement of the immigrant Bangladeshi in the habitat and agricultural fields of tribal peasants led to their displacement in very large scale. This led them to move away from their traditional habitat and settle in the remote areas like forest reserve and sub-mountainous areas. It is also to be noted that the absorption of the tribal land by immigrants went on despite the fact they were reserved for the tribals. The immigrant Bangladeshis, who have been increasingly politically and numerically dominant in various pockets of the state, and are trying to raise their status in the social hierarchy, but encounter fierce resistance from the indigenous people. On the other hand, assimilation process of Muslim immigrants in the Brahmaputra Valley is very rapid, and quite a large section of them have identified themselves as Assamese speakers in recent censuses. There is a strong proclivity among the many of them to accept Assamese cultural practices too. However, the fear, resistance, and protest among the indigenous people from the Bangladeshi immigrants is that only they could become majority community and indigenous will become minority in their own land. Thus, in order to protect their identity, language, land, and religion, the indigenous people have tendency to outrage against the immigrant Bangladeshi. This is the background of the politics behind the migration of the immigrant Bangladeshi in Assam and other parts of Northeast India too. So similar trend of migration is also seen in other parts of Northern India like Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland. Here I'll shed a very little idea about the migration of the immigrant Bangladeshi in the foothill border of Assam, Nagaland. The immigration in the foothills of Assam, Nagaland is also a decade-old phenomenon. It started since early 70s, but it increased in the late 80s when Assam was witnessing anti-foreigners movement, which was popularly known as Assam movement. So during the Assam movement, when illegal Bangladeshi immigrants of Bengali origin were attacked in the various parts of Assam, the immigrants, in order to save their lives, seek refuge under the suzerainty of the Naga landlords, especially in the foothill border between Assam and Nagaland. However, the first wave of migration of Bengali-speaking Muslim laborers to Nagaland started with the tea plantation and development of the railways. The British constructed Assam-Bengal Railway in 1892 for the transportation of tea and other mineral resources from Assam to Chittagong port. The railway line between Chittagong, now in Bangladesh, and Badarpur, now in Karimganj district of Assam, became operational from 1898. So this railway line passes through Dimapur, which was then under the Nagaland district of Assam. But presently, the Dimapur is in Nagaland, in the state of Nagaland. So in order to construct railway tracks, the British brought cheap Bangladeshi laborers. Gradually, the migrant laborers from the present-day Bangladesh settled down in and around the Dimapur railway station and formed their colonies. Again, with the formation of the Nagaland in the 1963, the border conflict erupted between Assam and Nagaland. This led many Nagas to settle in the foothill border in order to substantiate their claim. The newly settled Nagas in the foothills, to obtain cheap labor for cultivating their vast fallow land, encouraged the settlement of the Bangladeshi migrants from their neighboring state. For instance, a new subdivision of Nagaland known as New Land is the seat of such migrant settlers. It has been always accused that many Bangladeshi immigrants also entered the Nagaland from Assam during the period of Assam agitation against the illegal Bangladeshi migrants. For these migrants, it was easy for them to migrate to the foothill border with the help of their kin and kids who were already settled in Nagaland, and most importantly, with the fake documents provided by corrupted officials from Assam. This is the claim from the Nagaland actually. So I'll not go into the details like numbers and other reports which I have quoted in my paper for the reference of the strength of illegal to quote unquote again, illegal Bangladeshis population in the foothill border, making them numerically dominant. Now I must come to the major section of my paper where I'll speak about the different cultural adaptation and cross-cutting ties among the indigenous people and immigrant Bangladeshis. So in a foothill village where I conducted my field work, that is the Merapani, so it is a small village in the foothill border of Assam, Nagaland. So can I go to my slides? So this is the state of Assam and this is the Nagaland. So this was my fieldwork place, that is Merapani. It is a small village actually in the border of Assam and Nagaland. Next slide. And this is the picture of the foothill actually. And these are the classification of the residents and the Merapani town. These are, so I have classified into natives, then migrants from the other states of India, like from there we can find Bengali people, Bihari people, Marwari people. These are mostly traders and even the Punjabis. And then from immigrants from again Nepal and Bangladesh. So we also found there again we can find Adivasi people also from migrants from the other states of India. There are Adivasi quite dominant population of Adivasi people. Then immigrants from Nepal and Bangladesh. And these are some means what these Bengali people engage with the trade activities or professions, and something like Bihari, Punjabi, and immigrants from Bangladesh. We can mostly find drivers, they have clothes shops and stationery shops, etc. And apart from these business communities, there are also agricultural laborers or laborers in the construction sites. To the paper again, so I want to say that in this foothill village where I conducted my field work, so intermarriage between the following communities are witnessed: between Assamese and Nagas and immigrant Bangladeshis, Assamese and immigrant Bangladeshis. So many local respondents believe that Miya community enter into marital relation to entrance in Naga society. Interestingly, altogether new identities are emerging in these border areas. The new identity which is emerging in the foothill border is known as Semia, is an outcome of intermarriage between the Sema Nagas and the immigrant Muslim settlers. Once when I asked the Naga elder of Merapani, why Naga girls are getting married to the immigrant Bangladeshi, they say, to quote them, we are not at all allowing such marriages in our village. We are making our girls aware about the consequences of such marriages. It will bring crisis to our Naga society. If some of them are marrying also, it is also fault of our Naga youths. Our boys are very lazy bunks, they hardly work, so most of the household and economic responsibility is taken care by the women of the house. Our girls, in order to lead an easy life, are marrying these Miyas. The study conducted by IDSA 2009 pointed out that, to quote the study, that the immigrants are desirous of marrying natives to secure social sanctions for their settlement, and this is particularly reported in the bordering area of Assam. So there are also sinister allegations that there is an official strategy to alter the state's demographic pattern by offering monetary incentives to Bangladeshis who marry a Naga woman. As such, various Naga student unions and other civil society organizations in the foothill border district resist the influx of the Miyas to their bastis. So ironically, Naga also facilitate again the settlement of the Miya community in the foothill border. Noted scholars Homen Borgohain and Pradipta Borgohain of Assam mentioned about few things which keep Naga names about Bangladeshi invasion in their land. The most important reason is that Miyas are very hardworking and low-paid wage laborer in their agricultural fields and construction sites. Besides business and cheap labor, politicians also need vote banks, and insurgent groups need people to whom extortion, smuggling, and other petty crimes could be subcontracted whenever necessary to this Miya population actually. It is observed that the fertile and sparsely populated land in the newly created subdivision of Nagaland like New Land is a breeding ground of the Miya population. Their resilience capacity is also quite commendable. It is also to be noted that their assimilation rate is much higher than the other communities in the region. I'm Why I'm saying that they adapt to the local languages very much. This Miya population can not only speak the Assamese. Yes, it is true that their language, the Sylheti language, and means Assamese have a very common words and word stocks. But they are very quite adept in speaking Naga language like Sema language and other Lotha languages, and those languages even in Assamese, even any other people from the Assam or other areas in the entire northeast cannot speak or cannot follow that languages actually, and each community have their own languages, but this Miya population quite quickly adapt to those languages. So the Miya not only entrance in Naga society through marriages, but Nagas also try to accommodate them through practice of family adoption. The business families or the landlords in the foothill villages and towns adopted Adivasi, Nepali and Miya children, teenagers or families who are mostly migrants. When the landless migrant families are adopted, they are given the household family name and were often given new names and counted as a family. The adopted family or individual have to toil their labor without much incentives from the landlord family. The exploitative adoption practices in the foothill of Assam-Nagaland border also determine the social and the political network for the landless adopted families and individuals. The landless migrants or immigrants community had no choice other than living and accepting these exploitative relations in order to obtain security and protection. Anthropologists like Dolly Kikon of Melbourne University, who also walked on the foothill border, mentioned that a family in the foothill adopted the rhetoric of the kinship to consolidated labor service, exchange, and payments. The exploitative adoptive policies in the foothill not only render social recognition to the adopted migrant immigrant families, individuals, but it also helps them to acquire a piece of land in the foothills. My host family has also adopted Rubia Bai, a Miya woman since last 20 years. In the neighborhood, she is popularly known as Bubu Hotar Ghorar Miyani. She is working as maid in Bubu's house since last 3 decades. She does all the household chores in Bubu's house. During my field work in an afternoon, she narrated her story to me. To quote her, "I came to this place with my family before the Merapani War. So there was a war actually, Merapani War, which was in 1985. So it was the police of the Naga police actually, they attacked Assamese people, the neighboring Assamese peoples, but the local people call it as a Merapani War. So my family was a very poor, and Abba, who was a halwa in Bubu's paddy field. I was just a toddler when the Merapani War broke out. In the war, we lost our small paddy field, a pair of cow, a goat, and even our small hamlet was burned to ashes. The war pushes our family in the vicious cycle of poverty. I never attended school, and since very young age, I was adopted by Bubu's family. Bubu's elder brother was of my age, and we used to play together in our childhood. Gradually, I became Ghorar Manu for Bubu's family. They treat me as their family member. I also do most of the household chores in the family, from cleaning to cooking. When I was living with Burma, that means the Bubu's mother, in a Gawar Ghar, I used to accompany her everywhere. Burma also took me to the village Namghar to attend Gupini Nam every Thursday. Almost 10 years back, I also took Horon, that is a kind of a proselytization, under the Namghoria, the local priest. So there is a religion in Assam, that is Neo-Vaishnavism. So Neo-Vaishnavism was started by Shankardev in the 15th century. So most of the population in Assam is mainly the Assamese population, they follow this Neo-Vaishnavism actually. And we have our temple, we do not have temples, we have namghars, means our temples are known as namghars actually. So this is the narration. In her narration, she said that means she was proselytized into the Neo-Vaishnavis, and then under the Namgharia, under the local priest actually. So after I took the horon, the other village elderly also take food from my hand. When Bubu's elder brother got married and shifted to his new house in the town, I also shifted from the ancestral house to this new house in the town to help Notun Buari, that is the new daughter-in-law, in the household chores. So I am growing my hair with this family since my childhood. Quote close. So Rubia Bai's story is common in the foothills. Business families and landlords of Merapani foothills adopted the children or teenager of the migrant landless families. The relationship between the landowner and the adopted family is exploitative in nature, but at the same time, it helps the migrant to acquire social recognition in the foothills. Another important economic feature which helps to strengthen the cultural ties in the foothill is the practice of the sharecropping. The sharecropping system is popularly known as Adi or Bondok in the foothills. It is witnessed that in the disputed foothill border, the Nanga encroacher practice sharecropping with a migrated minority group like Adivasi, Nepali and Miya. Just like the Nagas, Assamese landlords also practice sharecropping with the migrant communities. The migrant sharecroppers do not recognize themselves as farmers but as halua. They are cultivators and do sharecropping in others' land. They do not possess any land in the foothills. In the foothills, landless, vulnerable, and exploited as a sharecropper, Mr. Sibu Goyari always dreamed to own a piece of land and became a farmer. He once informed me about the exploitative nature of the sharecropping practices in the foothills. He reflected that, to quote him, ideally, as a halua, our landlords should provide us ration, clothes, houses, and other basic necessities, but we do not get anything from them. Sometimes they do not give us the half of the harvested crop also. Quote close. So a casual labor earns rupees 250 to rupees 300 per day in the foothills, whereas the earning of a sharecropper is much lower than the casual labor. Still, most of the migrant communities prefer to become sharecropper than a casual labor. Sharecropping practice provides legitimacy to the landless migrant communities in the foothills. When I ask the migrant settlers about their arrival in the foothills, they often reply, go and ask my landlord. They will tell you about my arrival in the foothills. The landlord and the sharecropper relation is cordial and deeply treasured because migrant settlers rely upon the landlord families to testify their settlement in the foothills. So the assimilation process in the border towns, villages are however not without some latent tensions, so leading to hostility among the ethnic groups living in there. So many local people, academicians, pressure groups are concerned about the looming of the hybrid identities and some specific communities such as Miya in the border town and villages. There is an increasing trend of marriage between Naga women and immigrant Bangladeshi in the foothill area of Nagaland. This trend was resisted by the natives of Nagaland, which sometimes also lead to violence. So the Dimapur incident of the mob lynching of the Mr. Syed Farid Khan, which occurred on 5th March 2015. Actually, this man, this Syed Farid Khan, so he had some illicit relationship with a Naga girl. Then that girl went to the police station, Naga police station. Then she complained against the man, and he was arrested actually. But on the arrest actually, so he was took to the jail. So after that arrest, a mob broke into the jail, dragged him out, stripped him naked, beat him up, pelted him with stones, and dragged him towards the center of the Dimapur town. Even a section of media houses and intelligence reported that the root of this violence could also be traced to Naga's antipathy towards the immigrant Bangladeshi settlers marrying the Naga women. The offspring of these marriages are demanding constitutional status within the category of civil tribes. Even various national and international media houses also claim that the brutal killing of the Khan was a warning by a section of Naga to convey the immigrant Bangladeshi settlers to stay away from the Naga women, and the entire episode had a National Socialist Council of Naga, that is popularly the NSCN, backing actually. So in my field work in Dimapur, Ms. Manisha Borkokote, a social activist, also informed that in the city of Dimapur, that is a city in Nagaland actually, for a foothill city again. So Naga Student Federation recently stopped the recitation of the Azan on the loudspeaker. Such a circular of NSF came in 2017. She also informed that these types of circulars are circulated from Naga organization against the Muslim immigrant population in Dimapur from time to time. The NSF does it in order to check the influx of Bangladeshi Muslim immigrants and keep reminding about the outsider status of the Miyas. The Muslim Council of Nagaland, which is an apex body of Muslims in Nagaland, also checked the influx of the Muslim immigrants to various regulations from time to time. Ms. Barkotkoki also informed me about the influx of the Rohingyas Muslim in Dimapur. She said, to quote her, there are various local media reports in 2017 which states that Rohingya are posing a great threat to the security of Nagaland. Those reports also says that few local Muslims are united and vow to take up arms against the Nagas if they later try to drive them out. I do not know the validity of such claim. Of course, these reports led to hue and cry among Nagas. On the other hand, in order to pacify the situation, the Muslim Council of Nagaland put a check on the growth of the masjids in Dimapur. These days, they do a strict verification and registration of masjids are done if proper norms are not followed. This implies that in the foothills, there is a stark indigenous immigrant dichotomy between Indian origin Muslim and immigrant Bangladeshi Muslim, that is the Miya. Of late, the influxes of the Rohingyas are also suspected in the region, which further juxtapose the status of the Muslim in the region. A study on illegal immigration in Northeast India, the case of Nagaland, claimed that many interviewees in the study raised a concern about the possibility of the voters list in the Nagaland being doctored to include the Semia as well other immigrants. There are also claims among the section of Naga people that in case the increase of the influx of Miya is unchecked within the foothill, it may lead to the assertion of the Semia hybrid identity. The offspring of the Sema Naga woman and the Miya are taking over Naga surnames. The fear is observed among the Nagas that Miya is in very short period of time in near future will outnumber the Nagas. Few Naga nationalists believe that there is a possibility that Semia will be counted as a member of the Naga society and will gradually demand for civil tribe status in Nagaland. This will adversely affect the Naga as this demand will hamper the Nagas to take the benefit of the constitutional statuses. Furthermore, various academicians of the region also raised their concern about the growing aspiration of the immigrants in commercial hubs and foothills of the Assam-Nagaland border. So to live together, there is the importance of social order and some amount of harmony. In a foothill society, a minimum working relation is maintained among the different ethnic groups as a member of a social collectivity. In order to maintain this social order and harmony, there must be some social institution which may not be formal political institution like state, law, etc. In a foothill, such social institutions are reciprocal relationships in the neighborhood, kinship ties, social customs, and informal economic transactions among the diverse groups, religions, civil societies, and many more. Thus, the foothill village and town present a very unique site of the local cultural conflict management through a process of evolving socio-economic relations. Apart from this social institution, there are certain ways through which cutting-edge negotiation occurs which lead to a peaceful coexistence of the different groups. The inhabitants of foothill town and village try to avoid certain issues which may invite trouble to the group concerned as well as to the wider foothill society or the collectivity. As such, the inhabitants of the foothill try to push such issues under the carpet as far as possible. However, foothill society also experiences some latent tensions which I have already discussed from time to time. It is very evident that those segregated communities in the foothill try to maintain their moral and ethnic boundaries. Still, there are many sites where these ethnic groups are forced to confront as a social and political adversaries. In spite of so in the conclusion, I want to mention that in spite of this arbitrary state border conflict between Assam and Nagaland, And there are also various binaries like Hill Valley, indigenous immigrant, outsider, insider. In the foothill border, the Miya always try to raise their social status in the local social hierarchy, but always again encounter a fear, several resistance from the indigenous community, and sometimes leading to some latent tensions. But anyhow, they live means they are co-living, means co-exhibiting equally, means they are living together. Means at the last line I want to say that they live together but separately. So these are the seasonal laborers in a makeshift thatch house in a foothill border essentially. These are two women, and means they live a very means the situation is very pathetic actually. These laborers means they do not have proper sanitation facilities, proper drinking water facilities, but they are toiling their hard labor daily. So most of the economic means pursuit has been accomplished by this Miya community in this foothill border. So next. So this is the sharecropping practices. So these are the Miya community and the Nagaland, or you can see them. The man in the black t-shirt is the Naga landlord, and these people, the working people, are the Miya from the Miya community. So next slide. Again, this is a mustard cultivation in the foothill border of Assam, Nagaland, and this is done by the again Miya cultivators. Next. This is in my PhD thesis, I have a chapter on a shadow economy. So shadow economy means the illegal transactions which are taking place in the Assam-Nagaland border because Assam means Nagaland is a dry state, so the alcohol is totally prohibited there. But still from Assam, lots of hoarding has been done, alcohol hoarding has been done. And again, there is a drug abuse cases in lots in these foothill areas, and in both in Nagaland and again in Assam. And for these petty crimes and this for contracting this type of crimes, the Miya population is used by the landlords or whatever, the other barons, alcohol barons, and use this business community, use these Miya community people. Next. So these are the, some pictures of the marketplaces, and we call it a border hearth, actually hearth. So it is a traditional space of interaction. So you can see that mainly these are Naga women. So coming down to the foothill markets, they used to buy things and again take back things to the up to the hills. So next is the next please. So these are the religious. So these are the religious places in the Merapani, actually Merapani villages. So within a radius of 1 kilometer, you can choose one Catholic church, one Baptist church, and one masjid, and other that was some Devi Mandir. So these 4 places are within a radius of 1 kilometer. So you can see that historiness of the region actually, so multiplicity of the region actually. So next. So these are some media coverage of the Dimapur incident, Dimapur lynching incident, which I have talked about, the Said Farid Khan. So next. And this is again report of the local vernacular media report on acquisition of Assam's land and settlement of Muslim immigrants in foothill villages of. So this is from Assamese daily newspaper, very popular newspaper. So this type of news always comes over there. But nobody highlighted about the coexistence, that these people are also living, coexisting with each other. Next. So these are some Facebook pages from the Naga Facebook pages, which are showing the resistance against the Miya. So these are some Facebook pages. So these are the slides I have right now. So this is my presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Antora Borah, for your wonderful presentation.